Good morning and welcome to H3 TV, where we meet you weekly to bring you encouragement, hope, happiness in the midst of life that can sometimes be hard for people. And so we always like to come together with you and say, let us help you, let us encourage you, let us support you. I'm Annie Meehan out of Southwest Florida. I'm a keynote speaker, an executive coach, and an author now of 11 books. But every week I come to you with encouragement and a new guest, a new friend for you to meet. Sometimes I think the greatest thing we can offer one another is connection and community. So please help me welcome to the stage, Nicole. Good morning, Nicole. How are you?
Good morning. It's 8 o'clock, over 8 o'clock here in the morning in the Pacific Northwest. I think it's a little later where you're at.
It's 11 o'clock. Yes, yes,
Yes,
it is. So
barely
tell us,
morning.
Nicole. That's right. We're edging into afternoon, and as I said earlier, I get up about 4, so this is at least lunchtime for me.
Yeah.
So tell us about you. Who are you? Where are you from? And what do you do?
So I'm in the Pacific Northwest, beautiful Pacific Northwest. And I am a belonging expert, and I do it through
Mm,
personality. So that means that I look at how people connect and communicate. I study like disability, how people in intersectionality through disability. So how different races, culture, and women look at disability. I also study dark personalities as well, and how
mm,
people do it through how people are fractured. That's how I study it, so people can grasp more healing instead of putting those labels on people. It's more about giving people hope or having how to understand how people tap into them. So it's all about belonging.
mm. I love that. A lot of my work I do with removing labels, but we can't just remove them, we got to replace them. So some would say I'm neurodivergent or disabled or learning disabled, but I say I just learn differently and that we all learn differently and have different styles and different brains and different perspectives. So I think you do really important work. And I believe belonging is so important. And people don't always feel like they belong. So I created this show in 2020 because people were facing new changes in the world and sometimes very difficult and darkening changes for themselves.
Mhm.
So I thought, how do we get a talk show? Because a lot of people listen to podcasts and those are great, but I'm a visual learner. I want to see your face. I want to connect with you because of belonging and because of community. So I like to talk about what have you faced a disruption and how you've gone through it. And so that's what I want to know this morning, Nicole. What is a disruption that you have faced professionally or personally? And share a little bit about that with us.
So the what happened was I actually wrote a manual on how different races, culture, and women view disability. And we had some things happen at the beginning of the year around diversity. And I just written this, and it was my heart to give people a voice around disability because people with disabilities have a 2 times higher unemployment rate.
Mm, yeah.
And when you add another component, it makes it even harder. And then when things happened in the beginning of the year with the new administration, and you couldn't say certain words, it made it really harder on my business. And I struggled immediately with depression. And it was really hard to get out of that. And then other things kept piling and piling and piling.
So your disruption was first the business was affected, right? So it
Mhm.
affected the overall and something you care deeply about, right?
Yeah.
You care about titles and the labels people give themselves and the labels other people give them. And like you said, yeah, we have listeners, we see that. If you have questions or comments at any time, jump in. Nicole and I are always happy to
Mhm.
encourage you and support you. So what was physically happening in the world, and then also what was happening personally in your business led you to depression, right? And
Yeah.
depression we know is a real thing. Can be situational or chemical, but we know depression. I'm a mental health expert, and so we know depression is real and it impacts every area of our life, right? Our
Mhm.
finances, to our relationships, to our confidence, to our career. So when
Mhm.
you felt like, okay, things around me are not how I imagined, how I hoped, and what you've dedicated your life to do, um, then what did you do in the face of that? What was an action you took in the face of that to keep moving forward and to stay hopeful?
Well, I've been trained in things like DBT, I've been trained in things like CBT. And so I knew part of it was ride the wave. I knew part of it was you have to feel this, you have to grieve.
Mm,
You have to ride this emotion because if you stuff it, you can have a fracturing. And see, since I study also dark personalities, I also knew that you could make a vow, which can lead you down a darker trajectory. And
Yes.
so I said, I'm going to ride the wave of this emotion. I'm going to feel this and I'm going to do what I can in the moment. So I allowed myself to grieve. I allowed myself to work through the grief. And I was doing what I could and working through the heaviness of it and allowing myself to go through the process while working and trying to build things at the same time and rebuild.
I love it. I think it's important what you said, Nicole. I always like to remind people when we face disruption, we can't just be like, I'm going to be Pollyanna and it's okay and we're all jolly. We can sit in it, we can acknowledge it, we can use the tools we have, but we don't stay in it. We don't
Mhm.
stay in it. You make me a little nervous, and I'm not sure I want to go there with you because I really do everything possible to avoid darkness. I am very much protective of what I see, what I hear, who I surround myself with, because I'm an empath. And a lot of people bring their heavy stories to me. And though I have capacity to hear and love and hold,
Mhm.
I have to be careful to not absorb, right? And
Mhm.
so your tool that you know what darkness is, that you know what sadness is and depression and trauma,
Mhm.
helps you as a tool to help other people, but also it sounds like you used it as a tool to help yourself. So I want to know, because you kind of have this extra knowledge about something that I'm not aware of and I'm cautious about, how do you stay healthy? Because it's noisy. The world is noisy, and
Mhm.
I don't want to say negative, but it can be. So I'm pretty cautious about who I surround myself and what I listen to. So what are your healthy things to help you when you're sitting in this sadness or depression to take care of yourself and to keep moving forward to do the good work you feel called to do?
Well, I kind of started a fun YouTube channel where I challenged myself around manifestation around money. And I actually wrote a
Mm,
song called Freezer Cash because, have you ever heard the song? Have you ever heard Cold Hard Hat Cash? So I
yes.
actually turned a song into having your money be cold hard cash, but it's actually stored in the freezer. So I it's a fun song on one of my YouTube channels. It's called at Joyful Manifester. So I started to create some aspects of some of the fun. That's one aspect. I also know that you have to have when you're in hopeless situations, you have to find a gratitude anchor. And so I
Mm,
worked through having gratitude anchor. And and then I just did some of the fun, I did some of the things that were my passion, and I surrounded myself with people who were entrepreneurs. And I just revamped things a little bit. And I surrounded myself with people who could help me revamp, who could help
mm.
me see things differently. I also overextended myself and went into accelerator programs at the same time. And so I was into entrepreneur accelerator programs. So I tried to become more inventive and more, how do I navigate this? And who do I surround myself with that are more entrepreneur like, that can help me figure this out?
I love it. I loved all your answers. I think one thing I heard you say you did, even though you didn't say it, but I was like, she took her power back. She decided, wait a minute, this isn't ruining me. This is firing me up. I used to have a mentor, and she would always say, Annie, you can do things pissed off. You can use the fuel of your anger to launch
Mm,
into something good. And I loved that. I think of that often when I'm frustrated. I was coaching a new client yesterday, and she was talking about her frustration. I said, do I come across frustrated? She said, no. I said, but that doesn't mean I'm not. That doesn't mean I'm
mhm,
not working out or something. I just don't use that. I don't feed that fuel. I use it. I love that you create a YouTube channel, like, and make it joyful. We know that humor helps our brain, helps our body, helps our emotions. We also know that when we don't, gratitude is excellent. I love that you went to what are you grateful for, but you also were helping other people. So you went to moving through your own hard to be generous with your joy, to be generous with your silly sense of humor, and how you can navigate that to help other people and to encourage other people. Because we can sit in sadness forever, and we can get around a bunch of people that are all like, life is hard and life will only get harder. Or we can get around a
mhm,
bunch of entrepreneurs that go, life is hard and guess what? This is what I'm doing today. Life is hard and guess what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to meet this
mhm,
person. I'm going to accelerate in the midst of a moment when I really want to decelerate, right? And you did
mhm,
all those things. So those are fabulous tips. I hope our listeners are writing these down and loving them, because it's easy to sit in it. It's not fun to
mhm,
sit in it, but it can be comfortable to sit in it, and you have wisdom to know it does not serve you. touch on it,
Mhm.
sit there for a moment, don't stay there. And I love that you're using YouTube, because to me, YouTube is a great channel that we should all be on, sharing our humor, our wisdom, our encouragement, especially when life is hard. Because what I
Mhm.
think about when life is hard, Nicole, and you kind of, is if it's hard for you, it's hard for a whole bunch of other people.
Yeah.
And what if you are the one person that could bring just a little hope, just a little
Mhm.
encouragement into that? So well done. And how
Mhm.
about happiness? Where did you
How about,
find and discover happiness?
I'm
Happiness.
still in the
Yeah.
process because there's a lot of still disruption going on, and so I'm just going to let you know I'm still in the process. And I know I'm going to get back there, but there's been a lot of things that have happened these last few years, and it's just been one thing after another. So I'm just still working towards it. And there's a difference, I think, between happiness and being content.
Yeah.
And I'm learning how that contentment is. And I would rather be content than happy, because content
Mm,
means that you're just kind of satisfied, but you're still moving forward. Because happiness
yes.
to me means it can fluctuate depending on what's going on in your life. And so that's
Yeah.
why I'm more about being content, because then you're
Yeah.
grateful. You can move forward, and you're thankful. And so to me, it seems that's just more my word.
I like that. And you do bring joy, because your face lit up when you start talking about money in the freezer and joy, and manifesting joy and money, and I liked it. So I think and you're right. Contentment is kind of saying, I'm only in control of some things. I'll do my part, but I'm going to be
Mhm.
content and keep moving forward even in the midst of
Yeah.
it. And thanks for being honest. I do always feel like, Nicole, all of us are a work in progress. And sometimes people think, they look at us as speakers or writers, how'd you get there? And I go, just a FYI, every morning I get up, I got to start again. Oh, go for a walk. Oh, drink some water. Oh, do the things
Mhm.
that help my brain and body keep moving forward. I spent a lot of time in depression early in my life, and it was such a sad and painful, stuck place. And now I'm like, I never assume I'm going to get up and feel amazing. I get up and do something so I do feel amazing. And so
Mhm.
that's great. Nicole, if you could give yourself, your 20-year-old self, some advice about all the things you've learned from the time, I have no idea how old you are, but I don't think you're 20, whatever you've learned from the time you were 20 till now, what would you say to your younger self, or to young women out there that are like, hey, things are hard for me at work or in my relationships or my finances? What encouragement would you give yourself, or a younger version of yourself?
I would have probably taught myself skills. A lot of times we aren't given skills in our lives, and that's not the fault of our parents. It's not the fault of ourselves. We aren't given life skills, and when we aren't given life skills, it makes life harder. And so I
Mm,
probably would have said, okay, here are some skills to go with what's going on in life,
yeah.
because, and some understanding, because at the time, well, there's more information out now to help, but that's what I would have done. I would have sat my younger self down and said, here's some skills on how to navigate life.
Life. Here's some life skills, right? Like a lot of times we talk about high schools, like they're teaching you this and this and this, but are you ever going to use them? But how about like balancing a checkbook? Not that anybody does that anymore, but what about that? Or what about just communication? Or what about confidence? I feel like sometimes I meet people and they're like, I don't even know how to walk up and say like hi to somebody, or how to just have life skills of life's not always going to be easy, or it's not a Cinderella story. You're going to have to work hard, and there's going to be great days and hard days, and you're going to lose people. And right when you think you're getting a rhythm, something's going to disrupt. So all that stuff, I like that. Nicole, how about this? Who is someone you worked with that you had success with, like a success story, whether it was someone working with you one-on-one, or reading one of your books, or just learning from you on YouTube, or wherever you are teaching? What's somebody who really, you met them maybe at a hard point, a disruption in their life, and you really helped pour into them?
Well, I always usually get the comment that from people that spending 15 minutes with me is like spending a lifetime in counseling. But probably someone that I've talked to, uh, where they're going through a challenging time in their life, and it was just really sitting down and explaining that you can be free in this situation, and you don't have to continue there, but not to go down a dangerous path in the situation. But it was really to talk about what kind of, that it's okay to navigate, to walk away. It's okay, but also give yourself time to walk through that. And so we kind of talked about, I'm not going to go into the details, but we talked about how you connect and how you disconnect. what was going on with the other person in the relationship, because we did a little bit of relationship work. And so that was one thing that was really impactful, is really explaining how personalities work, where they connected, where they disconnected. And so in understanding the connection and the disconnection, they were able to make a healthy choice in what their next move was.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And it's so rewarding to help people, like to support people through their own
Mhm.
journey and like let them see like you're not a bad person and this is a season and this sounds like
Yeah.
a hard relationship. It's okay to leave. It doesn't make you bad or less. I always
Mhm.
feel like whenever I work with divorced people and they're like, I failed. And I'm like, well, that's not true. A relationship didn't work out. It takes two. There's so much more to the story, right? There's always so much
Mhm.
more to the story. What made you, Nicole, passionate about disabilities? Why are you passionate about disabilities?
I was diagnosed in high school with a processing. I have auditory and visual processing. What they call me now, and this is quite interesting, is an other nonverbal neurodiverse because of my auditory and visual processing.
So other non-verbal, but you are verbal.
No,
Your
it's because
disability.
I have a hard time processing. Like it can act up at any time. I have a challenging time sometimes processing auditory and visual.
Okay. I
So
mean, I don't know.
life is challenging.
Got it. Life is challenging, right? I think that I can't listen to podcasts. Like people always are recommending podcasts to me, and I get interviewed for a lot of podcasts, but I can't. If I see, I don't know, I can't connect the voice to the vision. That's why I do a talk show. Like I need to see your face. Otherwise, I don't know if your face is really there. I don't like talking on the phone. I don't tell people this. I don't know why I'm saying it out loud on a show, but I like FaceTime.
Mhm.
I can connect. And my daughter's always like, Mom, pay attention. You have ADHD. And I'm like, well, maybe, but I can't like my brain drifts over here while I'm talking. So maybe I have the same thing. I don't know. So you learned as a young girl what it felt like to be told you have a difference, right? And then what does that mean? And are you disabled? And does it make you less than? And then the labels people want to put on you, and you're like, wait a minute, what a minute, you know? So that's why you're passionate. Do you work with students? Do you work in schools? Where is your primary work, Nicole?
Well, I had to put some things on hold because of some other family stuff that happened and revamping things. What I was planning on doing with this training was getting it into government, getting it into schools, because like around intersectionality. Because again, when you're dealing with an intersectionality and disability, it can also be accessibility, because we don't talk enough about menstruation, maternity, and menopause for women.
Mm.
So that's also an accessibility thing. I was looking at going into getting this into the training, into government, into all these places. But then when all that stuff hit the fan and people are like, no, we're not going to do anything with diversity, it kind of like flattened everything. So currently I'm working on developing an app for the businesses that are interested in this, because one of the things that companies don't have is they either focus just on diversity or they focus just on disability. They don't bring the two together. And so
Mm.
I mean, this book is like really breaks down each culture, each race. And I mean, it took a while. So I have a prototype app, and that's what I was doing. I just said, okay, because I had to scrap another thing that I was working on that could heal systems of oppression. So I threw that one down for now, and I'm working on this one. And so that's what I did, is create. I said, well, then we're going to create an app so I can actually have a tangible product to bring to companies, and that's where we're going.
Nice. Well, good luck with that. I just saw you working with schools because I was like, oh, I bet a lot of educators, we just don't know what we don't know. You know, I was
Mhm.
talking about prejudice the other day with someone. I can't even remember what they were talking about, um, but I was saying it always comes down to we're uninformed. And sometimes
Mhm.
we have a form of prejudice that we don't even know. We just don't know. And we don't know what we don't know. I don't feel anger toward anyone about anything. I try not to, because I'm blessed to know a lot and I'm blessed to
Mhm.
do a lot. And so I try to always have perspective. Like some people truly are, I don't want to know, I don't know if ignorance is the right word, but just they're uninformed, they're ill-informed. And
Mhm.
until someone educates with kindness and compassion, they will not learn until we educate. But we all have differences. And sometimes when I'm working with educators, which I used to do more of, I show a PowerPoint screen with a misspelled word, but it's got beautiful pictures and a couple other words on it. I don't say anything. Like I just talk about how beautiful the picture is of banana bread, and I'm talking about transformation, whatever. But I have a misspelled word in bold or in big letters. And it's so fascinating watching the audience because I know it's bothering the majority of the people, but I act like it's not there. And then I can see someone like fidgeting and I'm like, is something wrong? And they're like, I know, I don't mean to offend you, but I think a word's misspelled. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. It looks right to me. I have dyslexia. And to me, it seems okay. Does it make sense? Does it sound out like I wrote it? Yeah. And I said, we have to be careful what we're seeing first in the midst of a beautiful picture and a message. All you noticed was a misspelled word. And it's just such a powerful way of teaching because the educators come up to me afterwards and they're like, it is the first thing I notice is always what's wrong with my students. And I don't want to be that person. And you like showed us how we are that person, right? And so they don't always know, people don't know how hurtful their behavior or their assumption or their description of someone is. And so I think you have a privilege, Nicole, to come not only as an educator, but also as a person who's experienced that. And sometimes life experience plus education is the greatest teacher to those that want to be better, but they don't really know where to start, or they don't even know what their prejudice is, or that they are overlooking someone. And there's a woman, and now I can't think of her name. I want to say Anne Marie, her and I just spoke at a conference, and she's in a wheelchair, and she was talking about disability. And she was saying, you don't even notice all the things you take for granted, and that their elevators were like back by the garbage and they had boxes in front of them. And they were just like, we have elevators. Well, have you ever used them? Well, no. Well, do you know what they look like? So she takes pictures and she helps me. And she said, I don't get mad. I just remember you take so much for granted that I don't get to take for granted because I don't walk. And that I need to have her on the talk show. Actually, she was really good. So I can't think of her name, but I'll connect you to if you ever want to chat because she does some really great work in the world. So yeah. So Nicole, so fun. Tell us what the name of do you have more than one book? It looks like you have 3 books.
I have a total of, I think 5. These are the smaller ones. And then I wrote a big one. And the needs languages bring balance and belonging. And that's the title of all of them, except for the world in us, how personalities communicate and connect. So that was one of the reasons why I also developed the personality communication modality, is because a lot of neurospicy people have problems communicating and connecting. And so what we have to do is we read the patterns. And so if you know the patterns, you now know how to connect. And so that's what I started to do, was how do you read the patterns of personality? And
nice.
That's what I write about is, and that's where the patterns of how we get trapped in negativity. But what you were saying about teachers real quick, I want to let you know, if they understand the patterns of connection and where they connect with people, it can be really helpful.
Yeah, that's a great tip. And we know we have educators that listen. And that's what, when you were speaking, I was thinking, oh, educators need this. And we have to start without judging ourselves. What am I missing? How could I be better? I always want to be better. And so when we have people like you with tools that, oh, I didn't even know I was doing that. I'm not a bad person. I just didn't know, oh, I noticed that, or I didn't notice that, or I assumed everyone, when I first started speaking, I always assumed audiences, major mistake, assumption, that my audiences knew Strength Founders, knew DISC, all had done professional development, all like had a longing to learn and grow and accelerate. That is not true at all. Most people don't know the things that I know, and most people don't think like I think, but I've had to learn to not assume. And I love to educate other people. Don't assume that what you know is what I know. Don't assume. So Nicole, 2 questions for you as we close out here. 1, what is the one book you would recommend of yours? It sounds like you have 5 books. I'm an 11th book writer, but sometimes there's one. What is the one, if they wanted to start and read one of your books, where would they start?
I would probably, each one of the small ones is dedicated to what you may be going through. So if you're a parent, get a parent. If you're in a romantic relationship. If you're dating, dating. If you're in the workplace, go with the workplace. But if you want something that's everything, then you go with The World in Us, because that's going to include everything. I mean, just everything.
Can you say that again? The world, what?
World in Us, how personalities communicate.
In us? Are you saying world in us?
The world in us, how personalities communicate.
In us. Okay. Yeah. Okay, personalities. And you're not talking DISC assessment. You're talking about how we connect with one another.
how we connect. So that's the difference between my modality and other personality modalities. I come at it from a belonging perspective, because that's really how I started from a disability perspective or different capability, because a lot of neurospicy people struggle with connection and belonging. And so how do you use these modalities, or how do you use this research to create connection? And that's how I use personality. I don't do it from behavioral. I do it from how we're processing information to how we're connecting. So if it's really just to teach people how to create their own belonging, what's healthy belonging.
Excellent. So Nicole, what is the best way to get a hold of you? We know people are going to be curious. They're going to want to know more. What's the one best way to connect with you?
Probably my website. I have a way that you can message me and I'll get back to you.
Okay. And what is the name of your website?
The needs languages, because we all need belonging and we're always speaking what we need.
Needs languages. Okay. Excellent. Well, thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. I appreciate you sharing a bit of your wisdom. I know you have so much more. We could talk all day. I thank you to our listeners. Remember, you can ask questions of myself or Nicole at any time in the comments, and one or both of us will get back to you. We appreciate our audience. We appreciate Nicole for being with us. Thank you for watching H3 TV this week, and we'll see you next week. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Is think about how we can support people, and that it's okay to say no, but also like, I'll be your accountability partner, but all I can give you is a text every other Tuesday. I can't walk with you twice a week. My plate is full too. It is more respectful to say, I'm sorry I can't, than to say yes and set someone up to fail. Does that make sense? All right. I want you to think about health. Next time someone says, are you healthy? I want you to think about all 7 of these areas, not just my physical health, not just a number on the scale, because I never helped the thousands of clients I worked with lose weight because I didn't care about a number on a scale, but I helped clients change their habits, change their self-talk, and a side effect was weight loss. I helped them get their finances and their relationships in order. I helped them with what they said about themselves to themselves, and it changed everything. But my favorite area of your hearts is happiness. And so what I'd like you to do is think about what makes you happy. And you can write it in that heart or write it in the back. I love for you to come up with at least 10 things that make you happy, from rainbows to sunshine, from fresh baked cookies to cuddles with puppies, whatever it is that brings you happiness.